Hello, everybody. How are you? And welcome to Sunday Functioning Chat with Kettle Kitchen and Friends, which we always have. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Want to jump in? Oh, but he's got an echo going on.
It's handled.
Echo taken care of, I believe.
Yes.
Hello, two doctors, Homestead. Thank you for coming.
Hello.
Joey, I know you're lurking off to the side, but hello. Janet Homestead, where you are. Hello, Lori Hyman. Thank you for coming in. And not for nothing, Homestead, as usual. Thank you for coming in both directions.
Thank you.
Hello, Ginger. Hello. The black square up in the corner is Dale, if anybody's wondering. He will be joining us here shortly.
Hello.
Oh, he's there in the dark. We have Tina. We have Janet and Daniel, two doctors Homestead. Sorry, let me back up. Ginger and Joey from Not From Nothing Homestead. Hello. Dale from 9 Acre Family Farms. Hello. Tina from Southern Heritage Cooking. Hello. Daniel and Janet from Two Doctors Homestead. Hello. And Michelle / I see an arm, JJ. Hello. How are you? Big Valley Living.
Hi.
Here, I can do this also. I guess.
Thank you.
All of us. There we go. Now everybody knows who we are. And I see Elliot, AR Guns 1776. Hello, my friend. Susan Ty, Big Valley Living, doing it from two sides as well. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Okay, so here's the conversation. Before we even get anywhere, I would like to throw a, what's the word I'm looking for, Daniel? Help.
Disclaimer.
Thank you, Daniel, number 2. I appreciate that.
Dale said it too.
We are not here. That's Daniel number 2. The conversation we're about to have is not to call out a company or a business or even a practice. This is a conversation about what does happen, what is out there, and we're trying to make you guys knowledgeable about it. Okay? We're not here to have the Debbie Downer conversation. We're just passing along information, and I hope nobody takes it that way. Okay? That being said, I'm not sure why Tina's busting up laughing, but that being said, hello, Alvin Lewis. Thank you for coming in. I'm going to start with something, and this is really where I stumbled along with what the information is. So I'm reading it. I will actually put this into the chat so everybody has access to it that would like it. This is the link to where I'm getting this information from. And it really comes from, take it for what you want to. Hold on just a second, guys. Sorry.
Okay. And now we get to play.
He's like, I'm on the phone. Remember your mom used to do that to you? I'm on the phone.
Yes. Yes.
So what videos are you working on, Ginger? Let's fill the air here.
Yes, Chili Smackdown. Almost done with it. I just have to edit it and get it done, and then it'll be all set because I'm on day 1. I have to drop mine February 1st, so I am under the gun now.
I just want to throw out to everybody, don't feel sorry for her because she picked day 1. That's her fault.
You know what?
Okay.
I've seen some previews already posted.
Yes.
On premieres.
Premieres.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We
finished our video today. Yeah, we finished.
Super
nice.
fun.
Yep.
Nice.
Awesome. Okay, let's get back to where we were. So this comes from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Take it for what you want to. Believe it, trust it, whatever. That's your business. I'm not going down that road. It's where I got my information. And what they talk about is what's called economically motivated adulteration, or otherwise known as food fraud. And that basically is stating economically motivated adulteration, EMA, occurs when someone intentionally leaves out, takes out, or substitutes a valuable ingredient or part of a food. Okay. For example, which I will come back to this example, When manufacturers add a cheaper vegetable oil to an expensive olive oil, but sell the product as 100% olive oil, they're cheating their customers and committing economically motivated adulteration of food. Okay. To the point that there are outside estimates, and I'm reading from the site. I'm not giving anybody my own opinion. This is what it says. Outside estimates by experts have found that food fraud affects 1% of the global food industry at a cost of about $10 to $15 billion a year, although some more recent experts estimate that cost could be as high as $40 billion a year. Okay. Let that sink in for a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
That is what I stumbled on, was the olive oil information I just gave you, because I was blown away. I was trying, in all honesty, I was looking up what is the difference between olive oil, virgin olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, extra virgin olive, I mean, on down the line. And I stumbled on this and I'm like, they don't put vegetable oil in olive oil. That'd be dumb and stupid. Why would they do that? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they do it.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, up to the high end of 10 to 15% of the United States' food, and the fraud that has been found has been up to 10% of our food products we go out there and buy do this. Okay. There's and so the next thing that comes along with that is, well, yeah, how do you know that though? Okay. Valid point. You can go on YouTube, look it up yourself. I'm not going to send you that direction because I don't want anybody saying I'm not conspiracy theorying. That's what I'm trying to point out. That's not what this is about. This is actual found out information that's backed up. And here's for me personally how I go by that thought process. There's a company out there. Again, I'm not touting anybody's names or anything, so I'm just going to give you this information. You can do your own research. There's a company out there that actually does do research on products that are on shelves. Okay. They will go into a store, random, pick out 4 or 5 products from the store, same products, bring them back to their facility and test them. Here's the difference. It's not just normal scientific, what most people would call scientific testing. It's actual DNA testing of the product that's in the container. Okay. I'll go to the example I did here. Lemon juice. A lot of us who can use lemon juice. 4 out of the 5 bottles that they tested were less than 25% lemon juice by DNA testing of the product in the bottle.
It's the citric acid, right? They're adding citric acid.
They're adding citric acid. They're adding apple juice as a supplement for it. Where's all the acid coming from apple juice? Right?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I agree and understand. And as canners of like jellies and things like that that are recommended, do not use a lemon because every lemon's acidity level is different. They encourage you to use bottled lemon juice because they feel that's more of a balanced acidity product and you can get it spot on.
Right. So while we're here, because I want to throw in another disclaimer, nothing that any of us are discussing to my knowledge, and I'm going to go on the assumption if somebody disagrees with me, they will say this now. None of what we're going to talk about, we're not pointing out a specific company, a specific product, and we're not here to say that everybody in that industry does this practice. We're just saying that it's been found that some of the products in each individual industry have been found to be doing this. So you really, in the end of it, what it comes down to is if you're going to read labels, read your labels. Make sure you trust the company that it's coming from. That's not to say that a new company couldn't provide a better product, but make sure you follow what that company is putting in their product is what I would recommend. The biggest problem.
Are there any of those, Tony, that you were able to look up their label and actually see some indication of I don't know, a blanket statement that says may contain other, because I know on a lot of products now.
So that
Go
just
ahead.
to answer you specifically, that's the ones you got to watch out for. The ones that say may contain XYZ or ... We'll say it that way.
Mhm.
Okay. Because typically they're not using exactly what you think they're using. Okay. Give you an example. Olive oil was a good example that they used. Okay. There is olive oil is expensive to make, it's expensive to extract, it's expensive to create. Okay.
Mhm.
If you're getting olive oil for $3 a bottle, odds are it's probably not made with straight legitimate olive oil. Okay. If you're paying $15 to $20 for a liter of it, odds are it's probably legitimate. That's not to say it is, that's not to say it isn't, but you're probably in a better position. Can I go
Yeah.
look at specifically which products or which brands or which companies do this, that, and the other? The FDA does have a database that is available, but you have to be a member of that database to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Thus far. Okay. That doesn't mean I won't find something, but as of today's date, I've not found access to it. Okay.
Tony, I think we've gone to the same websites this weekend.
Probably.
I do want to say something about the bottled lemon juice versus a lemon out of your garden. I can understand why they would supplement that with citric acid to ensure that it has the proper acidity for safe canning.
Yes.
Because that's the whole reason they tell you not to use your homegrown lemons, or they recommend that you use the bottle.
Right.
Mhm.
So in order to have a safe product for us to do safe canning, I would imagine that would be the reasoning for the bigger companies.
Which I don't really actually have problem with if the bottle's saying it includes citric acid. Where I have issue with is if it says it's 100% lemon juice and in the ingredients it's lemon juice, you don't get the citric acid. You don't have the option to say I want to use that product or don't, because you're assuming it's 100% lemon juice.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to say is in your labels, try to make sure you are purchasing from trusted sites that you know what their practice is as best you can. The big problem, and I found in all of my research I did, this is not provable by any of the people sitting up on this panel, to my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
We're taking a stab that the products we're buying are the way we expect them to be. Okay. Example I'll give you. I'll go back to the same example we've already talked about, which is the olive oil. I don't have the machines or the knowledge to go in and test olive oil and sample DNA wise what is in that bottle. I'm taking for granted that where I'm getting it from is what it says it is. That's the way most of us are. Daniel and Janet, look like you got something you want to say. I want to give you the opportunity.
I was going to jump in, and I don't mind naming the company in this instance because it is an NPR article. U.S. judge rules that Subway can be sued over a 10% tuna claim. And this was middle of last year. And a marine biologist, analyzed 20 samples of tuna from the tuna Subway sandwiches and found no tuna. So they're actually, it's actual allegations, but they're now open to lawsuit because they don't put tuna in their tuna sandwich based on those allegations. So it's another one of those situations where you think you're getting something and might not be.
See, no, if they would have not put 100% tuna and just called it a tuna sandwich.
Some tuna, some kind. It might have a little tuna in it.
A disclaimer on the paper wrapper that they rolled it in, they'd be fine.
Right, but he said 100%.
They'd be 100% fine. Yeah.
Right. And they're saying actually there probably isn't any actual tuna in that. We're not sure what it is, but it's not.
That's gross.
Hey, another reason to make your own food at home.
Another reason to not eat tuna sandwiches.
I'm actually glad you said that, Michelle, though, because I really want to hone back in. We're not trying to attack any food industry or whatever. We're trying to say in the end result, home canning, home preserving, knowing what you're putting on your shelf will help you eliminate some of the issue. Would you guys agree?
No, absolutely. The more you make it yourself, the more you're going to know what's in it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I want
I
to
agree
real
with-
quick. Sorry.
I agree with Suburban Hillbilly. Mystery meat salad sandwich. If they just called it a mystery meat salad sandwich, I probably wouldn't go for it.
Right,
But
random
it does go
stuff.
back to what Janet. It definitely goes back to what Janet's saying, which then is the bigger step. You, as the consumer, then have the opportunity to say no, thank you, or yeah, I'm 100% in. That's your
Yeah.
choice at that point. But if they're going to come out and say something is 100% whatever, then you have the expectation it's 100% whatever. Odds
Yeah.
are I'm finding 100% whatever doesn't usually lead up to 100% of anything, is what I'm finding out. Okay. Again, not saying every industry does it. I'm not saying every food product does it. I'm not saying any animal or any other product for that matter is incorrect. I'm just saying you got to watch out. So I'll go through and give you examples of what I did find out. Ground pepper. Okay, the biggest culprits in the United States this affects is typically liquids or ground something. Okay. I'm assuming reason being is that it's easier to hide it and not be caught at doing it. Okay. Ground pepper. They did DNA testing on it. They found twigs, stems, and starches inside ground pepper. Okay. Paprika. Sorry. What? Go ahead.
I'm not. If I want to eat twigs, I'll go out in the yard and grab some. I've got plenty of twigs here. I don't need them to prepackage them pretty and make me pay for them.
I would just like to know if they found Jimmy Hoffa in the hot dogs. Did they do
That
That
would
would
be
be
a little
that would
Jimmy
be a
Hoffa in
good
the hot
question.
dogs. Yeah.
That would be
I
a
mean,
good
do you have
question.
research on that?
I don't, unfortunately, my friend. I
I
don't.
could
And
probably
I
sold all
was
those
unable to
already.
locate whether I was unable to locate whether Elvis is still alive or not. So don't ask that question. Can't help you there.
I can see a little bit of
Um,
mix from a pepper tree being in there, but not quite the starch. Pepper does
starch is used for a filler. That's what they're using it for.
yuck.
Yeah. So
She
the
said, "No
next
way,
one, I've
Billy."
already mentioned the olive oil. I already mentioned the olive oil, so I'll jump down to the next thing. The tea bags that they tested were found to have twigs and branches, but here's the kicker in the tea bags: lawn clippings.
Really?
They weren't the twigs and the branches from the TV plant?
My assumption is, in all honesty, I get where there's a natural capability for some of these things to be
Yes.
derived from their origination, but lawn clippings is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, lawn clippings.
I can't buy into the lawn clippings at all.
Yeah.
They also found ferns and goosefoot. I didn't take the time, but does anybody know what goosefoot is?
I'm assuming it's the foot of a goose, but
It must not be. All right.
Just going
I don't know how you
Well, that word
accidentally
there.
slip
I
a
mean-
little goose foot in there.
I mean, unless
I
that's
don't
some
know.
mystery. But I mean, I'm just being a critical thinking here.
Yep.
The foot
No,
of a
Yeah.
I
goose.
get
It
you.
was attached to a goose at one point.
At one point, I
At
will
one
give
point.
you that. Yes. Dog food. Dog food that has 100% meat is just fillers and byproducts and no meat contained in it at all.
Yeah.
That should be in the goose foot and the dog food would be good.
There you
Yeah,
go.
put
There you
those
go.
in
And
the dog food.
collagen.
Mhm.
Pomegranate juice containing large quantities of pear and apple juice instead of pomegranate juice.
Yeah.
Thank God I don't drink that.
Yes. Paprika, I didn't finish that one. If it's ground, synthetic industrial dyes instead of natural dyes, which
Whoa.
does happen from what I found out to a lot of spices that are colored.
Because when they dry them, they lose color.
They lose their
Mhm.
color, I'm
Yeah.
So
assuming.
they add that to it
Yeah.
probably to give it that look. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and on that, just to sidetrack you a little bit, when you're talking about natural coloring, be careful on that. There was a company that they didn't get in trouble because it's legit, but they got embarrassed. They were using beetles to create that natural
Yes.
coloring.
Yes.
So they were grinding up beetles, putting them in the food, and that was natural coloring.
What's
Because beetles are
natural?
natural.
It's natural.
And
Yeah.
it wasn't
Couldn't
illegal
we
in
have
any
found
way.
something else besides a beetle that would mimic that color?
I guess
Okay.
not.
Okay. But let me come back a little bit, because this will tie into I think it'll tie into a conversation I want to have in this realm. Okay. So let me back up just a hair. I don't know if it still happens or not, so don't quote me on this, but I remember just as early ago as 5 years ago, there was a study done on. Ooh, Dale must be switching over. Sorry, guys. There was a study done on Smucker's jam. It was found to contain.
Jimmy Hoffa. That's
rodent
No.
parts and fecal matter,
Yeah.
Gross.
as well as chocolate also ran into the same realm. Now, most people would be
I
disgusted.
mean, I get the
with
fecal matter, but rodent hearts, like
Parts.
hearts. Oh, hearts. I'm like, what?
not heart.
What happened?
Sure.
Like
What
it
happened to the
blew
rest
up,
of the
like,
rodents?
there was right. What happened to the rest of the rodents?
Yeah,
It's just
that
the
would be
I like it.
classified as. Oh, I got it. I'm laughing. That's so funny.
That's a
Sorry.
mystery. If it's just the
It
heart,
would be a mystery. Yeah.
right?
Anyways, they didn't get in trouble for it. The reason they didn't get in trouble for it is that there's a certain level of those things are allowed to be found in those products. And so what I'm trying to get back
What
to,
level is acceptable?
I don't know what level of acceptable is.
That all flour or anything like that can have up to a percentage of foreign matter in it.
Because it's kept in a big area before being prepared. Yeah.
Right. It kind of reminds me, did you guys ever watch that movie, and it had Sean Connery in it, and it was when he was down in the Amazon?
Medicine Man.
And how those bugs specifically
cured cancer
that were housed, it cured cancer, but without those bugs and their parts, not hearts.
Okay, thank you. Articulation. I'm having a hard time with the articulation.
You're welcome. Without those, it would not have been what it was. Now, moving forward and jumping really through a bunch of hoops to what Ginger's saying, what is acceptable? We don't know what that is. Unless you're a scientist with the equipment to test it out, I don't know that you're ever going to know what that is, other than what is stated in research documents that they put out that say they're allotted 0.01% this, 0.01% that, whatever. Okay. Again, I still want to come back to the same thing. We're not trying to say every industry does it. We're not trying to say every company, every brand does it. It just happens out there. Okay. And so I really just want to keep hitting back home. Do your own research. Try to do what you can at home, from home, so you know what's in it as best as you possibly can. Okay. Minusing Dale's specific topic I want to dive into, does anybody else have anything to add to that or anything regarding that stuff?
I think you hit a good point.
Right,
I mean,
right
other
along.
than other than trying to give specific examples like of different things we've heard of, I think you hit on the point, which is, look at the ingredients, but even then, you don't necessarily know for sure what's in it. As we said, natural, saying natural food coloring might not be what you thought it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But we've grown up expecting a certain quality of food, and they know what will and won't sell, right? And
right.
Would you buy ketchup maybe that was a little brownish looking? Would you really want to buy that? No, because we want red ketchup. So if you didn't want it, you wouldn't buy it. That's part of the price of eating.
Actually, the consumer determines
absolutely
exactly.
And
I seen Elliot said now nobody's going to want to go buy food. That's not what I'm trying to do. That's not what I'm trying to scare anybody into, and I'm not trying to put that out there. I just want you guys to be aware of what is going on there, and if you're trying to get the cheaper, you might be cutting your own throat in the end, depending on what it is they're putting into your stuff. That's all I'm trying to say. So
the store brand,
Ginger,
because the store brands, maybe because of how quickly they can turn them around and make them and get them out to you. The store brands may not have some of this stuff in it. So I think it's more of
right.
now that we are pointing this out, if you're already reading a label, don't just skip over it and just think, oh,
Mhm.
what you know, it's something normal, kind of like the prepared beans. You know, how
Yes.
did they prepare the beans? If it says on the back of the label, prepared beans, okay, that's one of the ingredients. How did you prepare them? Did you prepare them
Right.
like I prepare them? I just kind of take that for granted, but you have no idea what kind of blanket statement, you know, what falls under that blanket statement or qualifies as
Right.
preparing the beans for the canning for the commercial, you
Right.
know, for commercial companies. So just look, now you know what to look for. Now
That's
you're
the
going to
point.
see it.
Yeah. And I do think that really ties into what I'm trying to say. It's not about trying to draw anybody away from buying any type of food. I just want you to watch it. Ginger makes a very good example in her example is prepared beans does not give you a true understanding of what they did to those beans. So it's necessary to really be conscious of your labels, but not just to read a label. I mean, there's a reason behind it. We don't send you in that direction so that you can, oh, okay, it's got nothing against anybody. It's the carbohydrates is all I'm worried about. You really need to read the label. The label's there with information. Hopefully the information on there is correct. We don't know. That's exactly the other issue that goes with that.
And over here in the chat, yeah, thank you, Tony. That's a very good point. And Rhonda sort of hit the same point a little bit further down, that the USA allows a lot of banned foods that other countries don't allow. So
right,
just
right.
All places have different standards, and it's just something to be aware of.
There you go. Growing with Hudson's got the right idea.
I
there
like
you go.
Should do that anyway. Thank you,
Pray
mate.
over your food too. Yes, absolutely.
You should do that at every meal.
Yes.
Not telling you how to live your life, but in my opinion, you should do that over meal.
Yes. Again, I don't think any of us are trying to tell anybody what to do with their lives. You have to make the choice. You have to do your own research. You have to be responsible for what you're doing. We're just trying to give you some information. So, all right. Anything else before we move into the Dale conversation? Because I don't know how long this one's going to take. So, did anybody have any other examples or find out any other information, either contradicting or supporting what we're talking about, or anything?
I think I really did. I think you and I read a lot of the same articles because a lot of what you said is very familiar.
Yep.
Now, I know that people who go to farmers markets, that's one thing to be aware of, because they have caught a lot of people at farmers markets purchasing food, produce and reselling it that's not organic and then selling it as organic.
Okay, so
Gail
and I talked about
food
that just
fraud.
a few minutes ago. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's the other side of honey. As I said, we know someone that does bees and honey, and they're kind of in the local, craft honey sales business.
Right.
And he's even said, "Hey, I know this guy buys honey from the store and relabels it. If he runs out of honey to sell or he doesn't have a good year, he's going to buy the cheap stuff and market and resell it. Maybe blend it in, maybe not. But then people are paying, $10, $15 a pound for something they think is local honey, and it may not be.
Yeah.
So
if you buy local, you might want to get to know your
are they actually
local farmer,
right?
Because
that's just
and I think that's a great point you make. Get to know your local ...
Mhm.
Your farmers, your beekeepers, your
Mhm.
chicken farmers, your whatever it is that's going to help you know where that's coming
Exactly.
from.
Tina.
We have a beekeeper right here.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
I'm nudging your box, Tina.
I see
There you
that.
go.
You feel yourself shaking?
Yeah.
So just a couple other things before we move on. Another thing that I found was honey maple. It ties into the honey, but it's not to the same degree that Janet and Daniel were talking about. Honey and maple syrup. They were found to be mixing cheaper sweeteners such as corn syrup, rice syrup, sugar beet syrup, and cane sugar in it, and selling it as 100% honey or / maple syrup. Another one, seafood fraud happens when somebody substitutes a less expensive species of fish for more expensive. And usually it seems to be, I'm not going to go into that conversation because that's a different conversation, but fish, watch your seafood. Two examples, back in 2008, manufacturers in China added melamine, a synthetic chemical often used in plastics, that is a high nitrogen content to infant formula. So it made it look like their products had enough protein. This led to kidney failure in babies and 300,000 illnesses, 50,000 hospitalizations, and 6 deaths were found to be connected to that. Another one, 2008 to 2012, people were commenting that there was a bitter metallic taste in pine nuts that they were eating after an international investigation. Some manufacturers substituted non-food species of pine nuts in place of more expensive edible pine nut species, which had been approved by the FDA. So it's out there. You can find all the information. If you do the research, you need to look into it. So
I think about, with that story, Tony, I think about some of it not necessarily is always in a fraudulent manner. Some of it is honestly just a mistake.
yes,
I can think of one example of that. The first time I ever traveled to, say, Scottsdale, Arizona, I'm driving down the road and I see orange trees and I'm like, they have an orange tree. So I stop on the side of the road and I get one of these oranges. And it was
Don't do that, Dale.
It was an ornamental
Don't do that.
orange. It was not a orange to eat.
Right.
But I could very easily see where someone could have one of those in the backyard and go, oh, oranges are so much per pound. Let me go pick all these oranges,
Yeah.
Let alone the legal battle you could have very well got yourself into for taking the orange off the tree.
Well, and you know what? They spray along for weed control. They spray a lot of strong chemicals along the sides of highways. So
Yep.
as
Right.
tempting as those blackberry brambles might be that you see on the side of the road, I probably
Yeah.
wouldn't go and pick them.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
absolutely.
Tiffany's not in with us, but she sent a text message and she said, make sure you're checking the ingredients because they're finding that they're replacing items with bugs.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, okay, we're 33 minutes in. I'm not sure how long this portion of it's going to take, so I'm gonna switch gears here a little bit. Again, the two disclaimers that we've put out there. Number one, we're not going to name any names of companies or corporations, and we're not talking that everybody does it because there's a high probability that somebody, and I'll go ahead and divulge what we're going to talk about, somebody that is an organic farmer is legitimate and doing the right thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can I make a
Dale.
suggestion?
Yes.
Yes.
Tina.
I just want to make a suggestion for people to go beyond the Google search, is to go to the Journal of Food Science and the Journal of Ag and Food Chemistry. There's some great articles in there.
Good idea. Yes.
Yep. Thank you for that suggestion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tina, will you in private chat give me those names and I'll post it out on the link on the comments here so people can look those names up, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to move into organic. That's what we're going to talk about. I'm not here to attack organic. I'm not here. I don't think any of us are here to attack organic, but we want people to realize when you have a discussion about organic, make sure you know what you're talking about. Dale, would you like to enlighten us on organic issues, systems?
Organic systems. So I think a lot of people need to take in mind that organic is basically a marketing word. So truly organic can mean a great number of things. Percentage of wise, the type of crop, the type of practices can all be considered organic in one way, shape, or form. It could be the point that I have chemically treated or somehow involved man-made materials into this up to a certain point, but at day certain, say 30 before harvest of any type, shape, or form, I quit all practices and it still be considered organic. So you have to do lots of research depending on the product that you're talking about.
And location, just to interject that, because different states have different rules regarding
different states have completely different rules. So I'm going to post in the private chat, Tony. There's a couple really good websites, and I agree 100% with Tina on go farther than the first top hit on Google, people. But a couple of those are put out, and no matter what your feeling is on the USDA, they are put out by USDA. The nice thing I like about these, the second one that I posted up there, Tony,
I'm grabbing it. Sorry.
is actually all to do with those organic certificates that the USDA gives to food suppliers and who is in violation of those that they've actually caught. So do your own research there. If you're looking at a new product, hop on that website because it stays current. It's an active list. It tells you who is in violation, who's not in violation. Sorry, I had a phone call here, and I imagine it'll call again because it's my mother. But anyway, when we talk about large-scale farming, in fact, let me just mute that right now. When we talk about large-scale farming, let's talk about soybeans, for instance. Soybeans can be grown organically, 100% organically, which means they have not been treated with any type of chemical whatsoever in the field. It can be, which would be the practice that we're all expecting, when we hear the word organic, right? But that same farmer could plant a genetically modified variety, but just choose not to apply any pesticide, insecticide to it, and still sell that, retail that as an organic product. Same way with gardenings. They can still apply things to their vegetables as long as they don't meet that certain criteria, be considered inorganic. So, I can use certain type of fertilizers there that are chemical fertilizers, man-made derivative, but being I didn't apply a pesticide to this, now it's still considered organic. So keep that in mind. Some of the biggest ones that I know of personally that happens is in the meat side on large production scale. I'm not going to name any names there. I've gave Tony some names in the background, and I'm not going to mention those kind of names here in this format. But Suburban Hillbilly is right on it there. When we start talking about that, the larger production, meat production facilities, processors, butcher plants and everything, and those ones that are retailing that to you. So you see this neat little package on the shelf of this perfect little steak that is bright red as the words that are on this screen, and it has been sitting there roughly 7 days. We all know that's not natural. That doesn't happen. There's only a couple ways that can happen. For one, they've either injected that with some type of gas or some type of chemical, and they can still put that organic label on it. And it's still, because that's not considered some kind of ill behavior. So always keep in mind that. Some ways that we can combat all that, of course, and I've said this to Tony before, there's only one way to guarantee that you are eating organic. Did you raise it in your backyard?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the only one true way. I fed that protein in my backyard. I raised that in my garden. I know that's organic. Now, I am 100% behind find a quality brand and support it. If they're not listed on that list, that company inside and out, and you trust it and have faith in it and use them. There are some very good farmers out there, some very good suppliers of foods of all different type that are very much upstanding in their practices.
Yeah.
But if you're worried about your protein, I don't care what kind of metropolis you live in or large area. It's not a very far drive to find someone who is doing a custom beef or a custom pork or pasture raising chickens, or just take a drive to the next smallest local town. When it starts looking like you're going to see banjos, horses running loose, a big grain silo, something like that, you made it to the right place.
Probably there.
Stop at the local feed store, gas station, whatever, and say, hey, is there someone here that raises beef that they would sell me, or pigs that they would sell me, or they have eggs that they would sell me? And then get to know that person that they suggest. Ask them thoroughly, what their practices are. Don't judge them. Don't go in with this preconceived idea that they're going to try to take advantage of me. Just thoroughly listen and engage yourself and ask, now, how do you raise your chickens? Are they in a pasture? Are they in a coop? Are they on electric nets? Do you keep them in deep bedding? Do you, when you feed out a steer for me, do you give it grain or do you have it on nothing but grass? Depending on your dietary needs, you'll find the one that you need. Now, large producers, not all large butchers or producers are out to get you and trick you. That's why they offer different product lines.
Right.
So stick with those, in my opinion. Sorry, I'm taking up a lot of time. Someone cut me off.
No, you're fine. Okay, stop.
You're making good points. And
I was going to jump in on that with you, Dale. I remember seeing a thing where they were saying one of the challenges on organic were international imports.
Yes.
So it's easier in the United States for our different food agencies to regulate farms growing food in the United States versus, say, something coming in from South America or coming in from another country. The ability for them to regulate how it was grown, it's a little bit harder, and they'll still get that organic sticker on it. But if it's an international import and you think it's organic and you're willing to pay triple for it, you might want to check, those
that opens
practices.
up a whole nother can of worms, Daniel. And that probably most of you are aware of, that the USDA label on, say, steak.
Yeah.
The big push in the U.S. beef industry is, if it come from the U.S., we want born, raised, processed in the U.S.
Here.
Because the way the current law reads, they could raise that in South America and ship it here, have practices that maybe you or I would not approve of,
Right.
as far as how they grow it, how they process it, how they ship it,
The chemicals
and
in the seed.
still be sold under that USDA label.
Right. Pumped with antibiotics, you don't know.
Exactly.
What I would like to say is what I loved is how you tied it all back together, and that and really it's a statement that applies to general normal people as well as what you would say to a business. Get to know your vendors.
Yeah.
If you're going to a farmer to get beef, that's a vendor. If you're going to a farmer to get chickens and eggs, that's a vendor. Get to know your vendors, get to know their practices, get to know what they're doing, because you're not going to, if you're not doing it yourself, like Dale said, which we all agree to, then you move to the next step, which is to know as much about that person you're getting it from or that company you're getting from, which in the beginning of this whole conversation is all we're trying to say. Know where
We've
your
got a
food.
couple of comments, Tony, that have really. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you? I wanted to jump in and acknowledge some comments.
I'm gonna get
finish
there.
your
I
thought.
just okay. Thank you. I don't even remember where I was going with it, so now I'll just hop over here. Sorry.
Is
I'd
it
like
okay
to
to
add
go back
that-
in?
My whole point I'm trying to get to is it's not about attacking any one industry or a practice. It's trying to get you guys to go back to or grab onto the thought process of knowing where your food's coming from. That's what's going to save you in all of what we're talking about as much as possible. If you know where it's coming from, you know what they're making with it, or you're doing it yourself, you've eliminated part of the problem and it becomes a solution for you. That's what I'm trying to get to. Sorry.
I would like to add something, if I may.
Yes,
I go to a farmer's market to buy my eggs and some of the meat that we eat. And the farmer that I buy those things from, and there's one primary farmer that I get my proteins from, my meat proteins, if you will. They invite you to come to their farm at any point and see what they're doing. They tell you what they're feeding their animals. They have samples of the feed that they're giving their animals. And that there's a great amount of respect for that, because a lot of people don't want you to come into their business, if you will, and they fully invite anybody to come and check it out. And I do trust them.
I think
that transparency is commendable for sure.
That's best practice, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I have a question for Dale.
Yes.
Dale, I have a question for you. So you said that an organic farmer can plant a genetically modified seed and it's still organic. So I'm just thinking from a business standpoint, if I'm an organic farmer, I would want to plant a genetically modified seed that's more disease resistant, so then I don't have to spray with organic pesticides. So are you seeing that in the industry?
I have seen it in the little that is done in this area, because let's be honest, everyone here is flirted with the organic large farming practice because they hear those high dollar figure they can get out of the end product.
Right.
The problem that a lot of them find out is, I can end up getting that higher dollar per bushel, but I may have to sit on it for 2, 3, 4 years before I see those results, before I can retail it. But yes, I did see practices like that, and I questioned it myself and was told the exact same thing. As long as they didn't apply anything to it, it was still considered a organic crop.
Right. Because I mean, gardening is hard just in your backyard. Farming's harder. You have to make sure that you can mitigate crop damage. And in order to do that, a genetically modified seed is going to be your easiest way to do it. Right. I mean, I'm just saying I'd pick the genetically modified seed if I could plant it and still make the same organic money if I was looking for maximum profit.
Yeah.
From a
If I
business
was do-
perspective, right?
From a business perspective,
Right.
if I myself, I'm not going to do that in my backyard.
Right,
But
right.
from a
Gonna do that.
business
That's
perspective,
why I threw that
that's
in there
why I
because
would
I
go.
think you're right. I think your approach is from a business perspective.
Oh,
but
I
from
think
a personal
I think you're
perspective,
100%
you wouldn't do
on
that.
it, Janet. I mean, in my opinion, why would you not use the benefit of science for a larger crop?
Right. But I think a lot of
From
people
their
don't want
perspective.
GMO.
Exactly.
That's the
Now,
problem. Yeah.
for those of us who don't want to ingest GMO, I can understand completely
Yep.
why
Mhm.
you don't want nothing to do with it. But when you get down to a dollars and cents and business side of it,
Mhm.
you figure out pretty quick why that farmer is operating the way he does, because
Right.
he's working on such a small margin at the end of the day,
Mhm.
that he's got to do whatever he can. Henderson Family Farm has been making a lot of great points over there in the chat also, and I see that. Sorry,
I got in trouble for that,
I
Dale.
was using it in my conversation, Tony. Sorry.
So, Dirt Road Destiny made this comment a long time ago, but we'll try to catch up to comments. Always support your farmers because they need it as much as they can get. I agree with Growing with Hudson.
Yeah.
We've had this discussion before. The zombie Smurfator apocalypse happens. I'm going to eat what's out there. That's just the way it is. Okay. I'm also going to preserve differently because I'm doing what I can with what I can at that point. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about Smurflators. We're talking about something else.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I'm
We're
joking.
talking about eating Smurfs here, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is again back to what we're saying. If you can get to know who your supplier is, you're gonna be better prepared for those situations that others are not gonna be prepared for.
Yeah, when the craziness happened here on the 9 acres, I mean, look at me. I didn't lose a whole lot of weight, y'all. I mean, we had pork in the freezer and we had eggs in the preserved,
Right.
and we were raising a garden.
Yeah.
And that is exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Dirt
That's
Road
crazy
Destiny.
that it can be raised and killed there and everything,
And then
except for
sent here as
packaged here.
primals,
Mhm.
and then cut up into your steaks and your pieces, and then put that USDA label on there because it was processed in the US. It may have
And
been
who would
raised
think
with
of that?
practices that we don't agree with, but being it was
Yeah.
processed, it could be sold here.
But again, with the reading the labels and things like that, we've just had to get so super diligent and researching because it seems like in general things are being snuck in this way and they're finding ways to sneak stuff that they think is unappealing. Well, if you know it's unappealing to start with, just go the honest route. But that's not, I guess honesty is not a big money maker.
It's about making money.
Yeah, I would say the problem is consumer demand. No one's willing to pay
is.
what it would actually cost to produce the stuff that we want. So we want something, we want the $10 item, but we want to pay $1 for it.
Yeah, we want Walmart
So
prices.
companies don't
Which
have a choice but to figure out how to cut
Right.
$9 out,
Yeah.
which is
I'm
why
gonna
you're
use
not
which
getting
in
the
all
stuff you
honesty,
want.
in all honesty, for everybody, tied into what Daniel just said, the reality is that's why we have stuff from China and Taiwan and wherever else, because we
want it cheap.
We wanted it the cheapest we could get it and be able to go get it all the time.
But you know
And
what?
there's a price you pay in doing that.
Today at the farmer's market, for example, so at the grocery stores around here, ground beef is, I don't know, $5.50 a pound, $4.59 to $5.50 a pound for just regular ground beef. Over at the farmer's market, there was grass-fed, grass-finished ground beef for $8 a pound.
Mhm.
I don't need a lot of ground beef, but I know what I want, and for a couple bucks extra, I'd rather support that farmer and know the meat that I'm getting, because I'm not getting all those fillers and I'm not getting all of that stuff.
Man, I like
Right.
grass-fed, grain-finished.
Yeah, we like the grain
I'm a grass-fed,
finish.
grain-finished kind
Give
of
me
girl.
the grain in there.
I like some marbling and fat in my
Right.
Yeah.
steaks.
And I mean, it's a choice. I'm just saying it's
Mhm.
not.
Yeah.
But if you want lean, grass-finished is it.
Yep.
Right. But you're right, Michelle. It's not always that much more. Right. But it is more. And if people are saying, I want to pay as little as possible, and then, but I want it to be organic and I want, then companies are going to have to play games, which is what they're doing
Right.
to check all
Right.
those boxes to sell it.
Yeah, because it takes a
Mhm.
long
I've
time
always-
for a
I've always been
grass-finished cow to come to butcher weight.
Yeah.
I've always been a firm believer in I want it as much as I possibly can to be American made. And I'm willing to pay the extra $1 or $2 to get that product. Am I John Q society man? No, I'm not. I get that. But I personally am willing to pay that difference to get what's here, hopefully made better, and the
Mhm.
product end result is better. That's the hope. Is that going to happen all the time? No. But I'm one person too, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, so
I think when I look at stuff, what I'm going to pay for something, because I think really this whole conversation can just be summed up really quickly. Minimally processed. I mean, know what was on your label, 5 ingredients or less, and make sure you know what they are if you're going
Right.
to buy that way. And I think the other thing when I'm looking at stuff like that is I do pay more for our food because it's cheaper than to fight some disease.
Mhm.
right.
You know, I look at it like I'll use our farm for example. You know, we do pasture raised Cornish cross chickens. Tina and I have talked about. We've all talked about this during this live, or this series of lives, and we fight it all the time trying to retail that product to people at say the farmers market because we're at say $3.50 a pound for our processed pasture raised chickens. You know,
Right.
the thing that I get thrown back to me is, well, I can go to the grocery store and I can buy one for 70 cents a pound or 90 cents a pound.
Mhm.
You know, I can buy a $9 chicken or whatever like that. So why am I buying yours? And even though you try to explain the difference in it, it's just like the grass-fed, grain-fed, whatever argument in the beef or
Mhm.
anything along that line. At the end of the day, what are you as a consumer willing to give up on? Are you okay with X or do you want this? Kind of exactly what Tina was saying.
Right.
Do I want the healthier thing for me to eat so that maybe I have less medical problems later? Or am I in that season in my life that I am just trying to maintain and feed my family because of the current economic situation I'm in, that I'm looking for the best quality I can at a certain price point.
Yeah.
And the reality is I think that's where we're all at, Dale. I mean, we're all at, I don't know that I like the way you termed it, but that season of life,
It's
we're
true.
trying to do, it is, but we're trying to do what's right economically as well as physically and medically speaking, what is best for our families. That's what we're trying to do.
And keeping bellies fed.
Yeah.
Some people, you know, you don't have a choice at times in your life, and you do your best to keep bellies full.
Right.
I think
agree.
it also comes down to you do what you know until you know something different.
Yep.
And that's a valid point too.
And it is our responsibility, you know, and we take it more seriously as we get older because that's how it rolls.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it is up to us to do the research and to do the proper research to know
Yep.
what we are, you know, sticking in our face.
Yep.
The other thing I
Valid
want,
point.
if we got another minute, I want to talk about is,
You literally have 28
1 minute.
seconds.
okay, we'll save it for another time.
No, go.
Well,
I'll give you the 1 minute.
a comment in the chat made me think of this, and that they were talking about the average income and things
Yes.
across the nation. You know, that's one thing that I'm fighting here, trying to bring a healthier product that, yes, is higher money in my immediate area of the country, because, you know, the average income of the United States is considered $50,000. We're talking about a household family that the average income is somewhere barely over 20,000
Yes.
for a family of 4.
Yep.
So when you start figuring in things like that, you know, at some point we throw all of that out the window and you're just trying to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the
Yeah.
best way you can do it may not necessarily be growing it yourself, because
It may
guys,
not be
when you put a pencil
That's
to
right.
it,
I think
we're not really saving a whole lot of money feeding it by raising it ourselves. We know what we're putting in our body.
Sometimes it costs a lot more, a lot
Yeah.
more.
right.
What?
And it does, but I think the point you just made, which is you know what you're putting in it, you know what the end result is. You're not going to fall into theoretically the food fraud issue.
But I
Yes.
think you get peace of mind.
Yes.
when you
Ginger.
do it yourself.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are correct, Tina. Sorry.
Can we sum it up with Crystal at Whole New Perspectives line that says, yes, when we know better, we do better.
Amen.
And I
Very
think,
good.
which
Yeah.
I think is growing with that started and generated
Yeah.
from growing with Hudson's comment. But that is so spot on. When you know about these things, you know to look for them, and then we know to do better. And canning our own foods, saving money, that all can lead you down to, you know, be able to spend a little more on
Yep.
something a little bit better of a product, like
Right.
better olive oil that's not filled with vegetable oil, you know?
Yes.
Right.
But the point is, I mean, let's tie everything back together. That's what this is all about. We're just trying to give you information. I know it's just like Janice says here. These are topics she gets flustered about, and I get that and I understand that. But I feel as the community we are, we would be amiss not to put the information out there. You're not always going to like what we have to say. You're not always going to agree with us. Not all of us agree and have exactly the same opinion. Okay. But we've come to a point in life where we're trying to do the thing that's best for our families. And we all seem to be headed in that same direction. And it's a point we want to put out there so you guys get the same information as well, which is grow it, process it, keep it. You're going to make yourself healthier because you know what went in it, you know what the process was, and you know what the end result is. Okay. Anybody else want to add anything before we go?
This has been a great conversation.
Yep.
Yes, it
Not
has.
only the panel, but in the chat. I've learned a lot today. And you know what? I think I want to do some quail. I hope JJ's not watching this.
I'm telling you, quail are the gateway. They are.
There you go.
Gateway drug.
I thought chickens were.
No, quail.
That was
Well,
last week. He's changed.
both of them are. The thing about quail is if you are in an apartment and have an extra room, you can raise quail.
Oh, wow.
They're just like having a lovebird or a songbird in your house.
Yeah.
I think you got your answer there.
Oh, no.
I think JJ says no.
Oh my God. I was watching a football game. Gosh darn it.
Again, as always,
Gosh darn it.
this is one of our shorter days, so we're gonna go ahead and end
Hey,
it here. I
Tom.
want to thank everybody in chat. Great conversation. You guys are all in on the conversation. That's much appreciated. As always, thank you to you guys, because without you guys, this conversation wouldn't have went where it was.
Dale, thank you for sharing all of your organic knowledge. I
Yeah.
know so many things to look for now. I appreciate you so much for that. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
And I want to throw out a special thank you to Daniel, because what he did prior to the show, I think, was good thinking on his part, and
Yep.
it was very much appreciated. So thank
Yep.
you. I do
Thank you very much.
appreciate that. As always, I appreciate everybody's input, though, too, because you guys make this panel and these conversations. We all were worried about jumping into this conversation, but it came out great. We did what we needed to. We got our point across. No harm, no foul. Nobody wanted to beat each other
No
up. I
foul.
don't foul.
You're funny.
Don't.
Yeah, I
Excuse
think it
me.
does
Excuse
real
me.
good when we all spitball around and just
Yes.
kind of pass each other information that maybe we have that somebody else doesn't have.
Right.
I like that, because that's how we gain all that knowledge. So
Yep. That's how we roll.
that's how we roll.
All right, guys. Have a good week.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes.
I think Tina's gone.
Uh-oh.
Tina's gone.
She might
Okay.
have previous engagement.
Uh-oh.
Maybe. I don't know. All right, guys. Have a good week. Be safe.
Thanks
we'll
for
talk to you
watching,
later.
everybody.
Thank
Bye,
you, guys.
guys. Hope Nana's feeling better.